People, 25th of the 1st, welcome to Newspaper Breakdown. I hope we are all had Prime Minister's questions today. It was, as always, hell. This one was particularly even more hellish after Sunak's soulless, absolutely soulless dealing with the questions raised by Starmer. He started with asking questions on the murder of Zara Alina, who I mentioned yesterday with regards to the wrongful probation of the murderer McSweeney, as he was put into medium risk. At no point did Sunak show anything that even remotely resembled empathy or compassion. They are scum. Every single one of these Tory bastards are subhuman at the moment. I'm not saying Tories have always been subhuman. I've never been a big fan, but this current crop, since around 2016 going forward, there has been a turn from just a bunch of assholes to vile subhuman fucks. Although you can have a look going back to 2010 with austerity and pushing that on people and the hundreds of thousands of people that died, suggesting that potentially since 2010 they've all been soulless, backward, vile fucks. Today's Prime Minister's questions did annoy me somewhat. Anyway, let's start with the news stories, shall we? We'll start with the Met Police. They are back in the news, and it's never good, is it, when the Met Police are in? It's never because they're doing such a good bloody job, and this one isn't either. A serving Met Police officer who was posted to a North London school has pleaded guilty to child sexual abuse offences. This is yet another in the long line of shit stories about criminals getting into the police force. The officer admitted to 4 counts of sexual activity with a girl aged 13 to 15, 3 counts of making indecent photographs of a child, and sexual communication with a child. No evidence has been linked to the officer and the offences and his current, the school he was at. Where he was working. There has also been the Met Police Commissioner, Mike Rowley. He said that 2 to 3 criminal cases against officers are expected to go to court every week in the coming months. So we can expect many more stories every day about the depths of the depravity of our police force at the moment. He said that they are a mix of dishonesty, violence, and violence between women and girls. The Met are reviewing thousands of allegations relating to officers and staff historically accused of sexual offences and domestic abuse. I will say, and this is the only thing I can find that kind of resembles a silver lining. At this moment in time, I have some respect for Mark Rowley. He seems to have come in, he seems to have realised the actual issues there, the extreme problems, and he actually seems to care about doing something about it. This isn't like Cressida Dick, who seemed to do her entire fucking run of just protecting the police. He seems to be fully aware that there is a real intrinsic problem in the police force, and he wants to do something about it. So at this time, I don't mind him. That may all change in a heartbeat when we find out that it turns out that he's a fucking mafioso who spends his weekends fucking pigs or something. But at the moment, that particular story hasn't come out. So we'll take it as a very, very thin silver lining. Over in Germany, Germany have finally announced that it will supply Leopard tanks to Ukraine and has given permission for others to re-export their Leopard tanks to Ukraine as well. This adds another layer to the war with Russia, with a lot more countries actually starting to arm the Ukraine. In Germany, the German government's 3 coalition partners and its lead opposition have all welcomed this move by the German government. The people in Germany who are against it are the parties of the far right and the far left parties. They've criticised the move, because of course they have, because there's very little difference between the far left and the far right. The German Chancellor looked to break his resistance to sending over tanks after the US confirmed that they will also be sending their own tanks to the Ukraine. Just a thing, like the far right are meant to be piles of shit. That's kind of what they're there for. The far left, they are a selection of the most useless, self-aggrandizing fucks that you will ever witness in this world. They would bend over and bow to fucking anyone. It does not matter. They would ignore genocides. They would allow mass murder, and they'll go, "Oh, what we need to do is talk to them. We need to talk to them. Yeah, they're bombing the fuck out of everyone. Should we see if the Ukrainian children that are fucking being killed at the moment? Should we see if they can fucking shout out negotiations in between the bombing? You backward shit." This argument, all wars end in negotiation in the end. Second World War didn't. The biggest war of all time didn't. You need to learn history more. And a lot of wars don't. They end in victory. That's what happens. One crushes the other. And if you allow at this moment, and as I've said many times on this, if you allow Russia to get anything, absolutely anything, within seconds, China will be in Taiwan. And then you're going to negotiate that area, because all you'll do is you will give Ukraine to Russia, you'll give Taiwan to China, and you will give them the confidence to do whatever the fuck they want. And it's difficult, I understand. War is never the answer. There is no winners in war. There isn't. There never is a winner in war. We all think there is. All there is death in war. But at this moment in time, you cannot negotiate with people whose negotiating strategy is bomb the fuck out of them, and then you come up and fucking chat to me. That's not how you work. You can't continue to bend over for bullies. It doesn't work like that. You only give them more power, and then they'll say, "Oh, don't worry, we're not going to do anything." They get a bit bored. They've already won once. So what's the second time? We're going to ask for a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more. That's all that's going to happen. It's a terrible fucking idea. There's more complexity. Anyway. A few more stories. Over 400,000 LGBTQ people have been subjected to someone trying to change, cure, or suppress their sexual orientation or gender identity. This is according to a new survey from Gallup, which is an LGBTQ plus anti-abuse charity. 1 in 5 LGBTQ plus people and 1 in 3 trans people in the UK have been subjected to attempted conversion. The number is higher than the original estimates that have been put in place, and comes amid Tory backbench unrest over the government's plans to ban conversion therapy. Some Conservative MPs have already said that they will vote against the ban for conversion therapy, as they fear concerned parents and doctors could get caught up in a ban alongside fundamentalist religious preachers. So one of the most important things when this bill does come into Parliament is the wording. It'll be very important to see what the wording is. However, and it should be said, if, as a parent, speaking as a mother, you're doing something that goes in line with what a religious fundamentalist would do, you're doing it wrong. That's the facts there. And also with the conversion therapy as a whole, it's a batshit fucking idea. Seemingly at this time, we cannot convert you into being less of a cunt, and that is a choice. But you think you can convert someone from being gay to straight, which isn't a choice. We've got more news on the BBC chair, Richard Sharp. It turns out that the government-appointed panel that approved his prime candidate, approved him as a prime candidate, had a Tory party donor who was also a prospective MP, and the wife of a former chair of The Spectator who worked with Boris Johnson while he was the editor. There are only 4 members of the panel, with another being the permanent secretary for the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport. Another one of those fantastic, can't be any conflicts of interest because everyone's interest is to help me. That's how they get away with the ideas of conflict of interest. It can't be any because they're doing everything that I say, and that is not a conflict to my interests. As I said, like yesterday, Richard Sharp said, "Oh, there's no conflict of interest," but of course he's going to say that, isn't he? You rarely have someone admit to their mistakes on the first fucking time. Well, we've got 2 more stories. We have northern leaders outlined at the convention of the convention of the Northern Conference. Have said that the concept of levelling up should be hardwired into UK law to help close the gap in living standards. Mayors and council leaders have said that the current system of towns and cities bidding for government cash is unfair. This comes after a report by the IPPR and said that the north of England receives one of the lowest levels of investment for an advanced economy. The first bit about this is the idea that the UK is an advanced economy has to be looked at with rose-tinted glasses, because what you have to take into account when you claim us to be an advanced economy is just the sheer fucking size of the inequality in this country. We are a country that is a lot of rich people and a mass of poor. So the idea that we're an advanced economy, I think, is a touch iffy. Changing how we currently, changing the system of what we currently do, where people have to almost beg the government for money, makes sense. Making it out a bit more evenly is certainly a plus. We also have to realise that in London, and I know everyone hates London, London, awful, but London has some of the areas with the most amount of poverty in the country, and that rarely gets fucking spoken about when the North go, well, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. It's the inequality that is the major issue here, and it always will be. Inequality is the thing that affects most. Of course, we need to do much more to stimulate the North, which is why HS2, just the fucking train between London and Leeds, is pointless, really. And what you need to do first is make sure that the train connections up north are fantastic. If you're able to get from fucking Liverpool to Manchester to Leeds to Sheffield to fucking other parts in a relatively short amount of time, and you make travelling in the north easier, then you will get more investment in. Well, that's what I think anyway. I could be wrong. Don't think I am, but I could be. Finally, Amazon workers are staging the first ever UK strike against Amazon today. This is over pay. 300 staff will walk out of the Amazon warehouse in Coventry after a 5% pay rise was offered, bringing up their pay to £10.50 an hour. Workers have spoken about the harsh conditions in the Amazon warehouse. I believe they call them fulfillment centres, which is the first thing. The moment you heard that, I remember the first time I heard Amazon calling their warehouses fulfillment centres, I thought this is going to be shit. Because if you're starting to call it something like that, you know you're hiding shit. 100%. It screams the type of thing you'd put into a dystopian movie. But workers have spoken about the harsh conditions, claiming that they are constantly being monitored and are attacked or upbraided for idle time lasting just a few minutes. If you're idle for a few minutes, you will be fucking pulled up on it. Amazon have all been brought in front of select committees with regards to their use of monitoring. And of course they think, oh, we're doing fine, we're lovely, we're fantastic, look at the amount of money that we bring in, la-di-la-di-la. Then you have a look at the amount of taxes that they don't pay. Then you have people go, oh yeah, but the amount of money that they bring in via jobs means it's fine for them to not pay taxes. It's not. It's just not. Anyway, it's why unions are good. Well done to those people striking. I hope they get what they deserve. So this has been another day. I hope it's been fun for you. And I shall speak to you later.